Louisville has now won 11 road games by 10 plus points. That's number one in the country. No team's done that many times. Not even Auburn, not even Tennessee. And Louisville is third nationally in road margin of victory. We are back for another edition of the Starting 502 podcast. It's part of the State of Louisville podcast network. As always, Pressmeyer, Jake, Hook. We're here to talk. We're going to talk about three game winning streak again now. We talk about a little bit, maybe a little recruiting, blowout win at NC State, a little preview of Notre Dame, perhaps a sneaky Notre Dame game this week. But Jake, first of all, how you doing? What's the jump off the side of a building meter right now?
It's almost never been lower. It was very nice seeing. I don't want to say get bored of these blowouts, because you never will. You'll always take a blowout. But yeah, it is like maybe just make it a little bit closer, NC State, so I can be more in the game with 4.5 minutes left to go and not like helping my fiance cook in the kitchen instead.
Yeah. I mean, dude, Louisville gained the lead 33 seconds in. They did not ever relinquish the lead. They led the game for 39 minutes and 27 seconds. It was often so dominant that there was literally nothing for the announcers to talk about. Antonelli played. What's
nearly
Spencer?
3 minutes.
Nearly 3 minutes. Spencer Legg played. Louisville kind of ran up the score a little bit. I don't know. What's your take on that, Jake? Do you think Louisville? Let's start there. Start there. Why not? What a great starting place. Yeah. Does Louisville leave the starters in too long? What do you think?
Actually, I did kind of wonder about that. Like, I was wondering, I was like, where's Frank? Put Frank in the game. Why is Frank not in the game? Frank didn't come off the bench today. We're up by 25 points for a majority of that second half. So I was a little surprised by that, particularly with how thin we already are. Not that I fear that someone will get injured. That could happen at any time. Just more of a fatigue thing. Because, Chuckie plays 36 minutes a night, 37 minutes a night. Terrence has been playing 38, 40 minutes a night. So I am, I guess, a little bit surprised that we don't see, I guess, more of Khani, Frank, Kader towards that back half of the second half. We still see Terrence Edwards and Rain Smith and Chuckie all the way up until 2 minutes, sometimes even 1 minute left in the game. So yeah, it is a little bit surprising, but I will never complain about a blowout win. I was talking to my fiance last night. This is exactly where we were last year. Sitting here and being down 23, and then we go on an 8-0 run to only be down 15. And I'm getting excited that we're only down 15 now. Just for us to inevitably go back down 25.
The crowd's just on fire. Do you remember people getting up for Joker and the Thief down 16 against Georgia Tech? I don't know if that was a good team example, but I remember the fake juice. There's 3,700 people in the Center with 6 minutes left, and fans are trying to will Louisville to get it within single digits. What a time. And it was literally the Monstars kind of stole, Louisville being the Monstars stole NC State's powers from last year. NC State, of course, went on a 5-game winning streak in the ACC tournament, won the ACC tournament, then went to the Final Four last season, and this year. It's literally feels like a reversal of roles. Louisville has now won 11 road games by 10 plus points. That's number one in the country. No team's done that many times. Not even Auburn, not even Tennessee. And Louisville is third nationally in road margin of victory. So Louisville whatever Kelsey says, they pack their 2 times the defense and 3 times the hustle or something like that. Pack your free throws, I think, is another thing that he says. I don't know. Now I'm just making up stuff. What else would you pack, Jake?
Oh, goodness. 3-point shooting, apparently, because we shot, 50% from the 3-point line? I saw Kelly Dickey tweeted it was the first time in program history that as a team in an individual game, Louisville shot better than 60% from the field, better than 50% from 3, and better than 90% from the free throw line. That's just insane. This team has done such a good job. You named that stat, talking about we've got the third largest road win margin, I guess would be the way to describe that.
Yes.
And we just do such a good job of getting up to an early lead. We're up 11-2. We're up 15-4, whatever. And just kind of taking the crowd out of it immediately, almost giving the other team no hope. I mean, by the start of the, 5 minutes into the second half? Yeah. I don't even know if NC State really had any hope. I guess they were only down 10 at halftime, so some hope. but like 6 minutes in the second half and it's gone. And we've just done such a good job of not even allowing these road underdogs to feel like they have a chance to compete with us, which is so big because you let these little sneaky ACC teams that are 10-13 and 4-8 in conference, and you let them hang around. There is enough talent for them to catch you, hit a couple shots, get a couple lucky bounces or whatever. And we just haven't, for the most part, outside of that Georgia Tech team, allowed that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of like the thing that this Louisville team does so well. Like they kind of like they strangle you like a boa constrictor almost. Like they just kind of suck the life out of you, all the will out of you. And that's what it feels like, Louisville did in the first 4 minutes. They're the last two times they've been on the road. But I mean, look up at it's 11-3 after the first segment, and then it's 25-11. Like, and it just feels like it's just each segment, the lead is getting further and further to the point of like they just remove all will to win from the opposing team and they just abandon their game plan, and it just never even gets back to within competitive for the rest of the game. And it seems like Louisville does that even better on the road for some reason.
Yeah, it's been so fun to watch. I mean, how many guys? 4 guys scored more than 15 points? Chuckie, Terrence, Javon, and Rain. I think everybody that shot more than 4 field goals shot like above 60 or 70%. So just an all-around incredible offense game. If you can complain about anything, it's 17 turnovers. But when you shoot 64% from the field and 58% from the three-point line, you can get away with that. So that's okay. I was happy to see Brandon Huntley-Hatfield did not go L's down after he sulks with his head down to the locker room, losing by 20 plus like Tyler Johnson did. Yeah. So that was cool. But God, is Brandon Huntley-Hatfield like really out of shape? Or because they only played him 17 minutes and he did not have a single foul. I don't know what's going on there.
Well, so he had been injured, so he hadn't played the 3 previous games.
That's true,
so
that's
maybe
true.
he was on an injury restriction. But if that's the case, it's weird they start him. I don't know. It's a weird situation. I think they're just trying to push whatever buttons that they can push over there at NC State. But Louisville, winners of their last 3 and winners of 13 of their last 14. That's pretty damn good. Rain Smith. I mean, let's talk about Rain for a second. If you get into individual accolades, right? Rain Smith is shooting over 51% from 3 in conference road games. He is 48 for 80 from beyond the arc in conference road games. I mean, you can kind of just start listing them. He had 6 against Syracuse, 10 at SMU, 10 at SMU. Like 5 or 6 against Florida State. Like it just, there's something about going on the road. There's only been 2 instances this season where he was just off essentially on the road, basically at Georgia Tech and at Kentucky. It just feels like he just has that extra gear that needs to get over the top. And now Rain Smith sits at 96 threes for the season. He's 5th all time as of right now for single season 3-pointers made. Taekwon Dean is 122nd, is first with 122 and second with 105. Sorry, I tried to combine those 2 sentences. Preston Knowles, 3rd with 100. DeJuan Wheat, 4th with 97. You would figure that Rain would pass, probably tie or pass Preston Knowles by this weekend, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah. How many did Preston have? 90,
Preston had 100.
6. Oh, 100.
100,
sorry.
and Rain has 96.
That's it. Okay, yeah. So 4. He hit 5 last game. So yeah, I'd say at minimum he's 1 short, tied, or 1 ahead probably. Yeah,
Rain needs to average 4.3 threes per game in the final 6 games to break the record in the regular season. So like we're talking Taekwon Dean 2004, 2005. He went to the Final Four. So he played 7 postseason games. So like we're talking Rain needs to average basically just right at 2 threes per game to break the record if they were to go that far. Currently he's making 3.84 threes per game on the season, but hitting at a much higher clip at this point. So at the rate that he's going, he will literally break the 3-point record in the regular season, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean, and is he still with free throws? I know he made 2 more last night. Is he still leading in free throw percentage? I can't find that one where the record is, but I know he was well above 90% at one point.
We could probably get that pulled up. Jamie put that on the screen for us. Jamie's not in today. But no, I mean, I think the Rain Smith accolades, at this point, what else, what more can you say? And then also on the other end of things, Chuckie Hepburn coming back from injury, James Scott coming back from a gruesome, nasty injury, and both very significant contributors. How much better did you feel after kind of seeing Chuckie play?
Yeah, I was concerned because I mean it was that non-contact injury, and so we just didn't know if it was a game, if it was just something minor, or if it was going to be a month, 2 months, because you never know with those injuries where it doesn't look like anything bad happened. So it was nice. I didn't notice anything. I mean, Chuckie played less minutes than he normally does. Mm-hmm. We're also up by 20 in the second half, so he didn't really have to play that many minutes. He only played 31 when he's normally playing 36, 37.
Right.
But from a performance standpoint, I didn't notice anything. 15 points, 6 assists, 2 steals. He's normal Chuckie self, and I thought James played really well as well. I know that's got to be really awkward to play. I've never seen a mask like that also. It's just, you typically see because it's typically a nose injury.
Yes.
You typically see like the sides, and then the nose is covered up, and then your mouth is open. You rarely ever see the mouth being covered up. And yeah, he literally looks like Hannibal Lecter. But it's got to be awkward to play in that thing, vision-wise, breathing-wise. It can't be fun, but he didn't let it stop him. Still had a solid game.
Almost looks kind of like a sack, like it's kind of saggy on his face a little bit. I know it feels weird. Feels like a weird sentence to say.
I thought he had a COVID mask on. Like literally, if you remember seeing like high school basketball highlights when the kids had to wear COVID masks at times, that's what I thought he had on. And I was like, well, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you got people out here with like just the most random looking junk to cover up their mouths during game. Yeah, ridiculous. Chuckie to Rain to James Scott, and then what about our man Fat Edwards? Which name 5 guards in the ACC playing better than James Scott in the last 4 or 5 games.
Terrence Edwards.
Yeah, name a better guard than Terrence Edwards.
To
both questions.
Hepburn, but besides that,
yeah, I mean it's. What else can you say about this dude? I mean, the assist to me is what stands out, is his ability to create for others. But what were you going to say, Jake? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I was concerned whenever Chuckie went out. We don't have a primary point guard, and obviously the game prior to this on Saturday against Miami, he puts up 10 assists. Like he's hitting his peak right now. He's playing better than he has all season long. And this is when you want to see players at your peak. I don't care if he peaks in October. I care if he's peaking in February, March. So it's nice. I mean, he's doing everything. He's still a defensive dog. He's getting more players involved, and his 3-point shot is finally hitting.
Yeah.
It seems like every game he hits 2, 3 threes. Sometimes the announcers are like, he's a better shooter than his averages say. We swear, because he's shooting like sub 30% from 3. Last game he went 4 for 4. So that's going to help. But I've been super impressed. If there's one complaint, it's the turnovers. He still at times just forces. He had 5 turnovers this last game. But with the way he's playing defense and the way that he's scoring and facilitating, I'll allow. It's okay for him to have 5 turnovers. That is okay.
yeah. We'll allow it just for this one time. But in all seriousness, there's definitely like a cerebral. He plays in a very cerebral way, right? Like he's very
cerebrality, I believe is what you meant to say.
Cerebrality? I don't think so.
I'm kidding.
No, I have no idea. There's like a calm, confident air about about Fat Edwards that you like to see, but it feels like he's coming out of his shell a little bit more. I don't know if that's representative of just like a change of mindset or a change of mentality, but it feels like he's like really gaining confidence on another level at this point. Like you saw the rise of his career at James Madison. Like he didn't start out as this like Power 5 level starter, right? Like he was getting minimal minutes at James Madison, kind of worked his way into becoming more of a star player for them. And I think getting to this level has been another progression of the levels at which he can take this to. And if he hasn't even put it in the final year yet, then Fat could be ramping up for a fantastic finale to the season.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, most of the guys, not most of the guys, but a lot of the guys were already complementary players. So I feel like they more easily assimilated into Pat Kelsey's system.
Sure.
You had Rain and James Scott who had already played there. So there wasn't a huge transition there. Javon is more of a do whatever you need. We call him the Swiss Army knife. Same with Abubakar, Traore, those kind of guys. Chuckie was actually asked to do more offensively. So the only one on the team that was really asked to do less was Terrence Edwards. And so I think you found him pushing too much, trying a little too hard, doing too much at times, turning the ball over. And on top of that, he's not shooting well. And it just led to a rough start to the season for him. And it kind of all turned around once it seemed like he just put a pure focus on the defensive end. And just like, if he scored 6 points in the game, but he locked up their best perimeter offensive player, then that's a win for him. And once he got that through his mind, now even when he's not shooting well, he's still having a positive impact on the game. And now the shots are falling. Like, he hit 4 threes against Wake Forest, 3 against Georgia Tech, only 1 against Boston College, but then 3 against Miami, and then 4 last night against NC State. And so now the defense is there. He's finding his role within this offense, and the shot is falling. I mean, the sky's the limit for him.
Yeah, it's kind of a similar transformation that we saw with Chuckie, right? Like, he assimilated quicker, but it took a second. And I think we made a similar comment towards the beginning of the season, where it's like, okay, Chuckie might have only been 3 for 11, but damn, he was still by far the best player on the court. Like, he impacted that game in so many different ways. And then it felt like it was fat that we were saying that about. And now it's like, okay, well, the scoring has come along with it. And the playmaking and facilitating for others has come along with it. So, I mean, that's been, a real revelation to see over the last 5 or 6 games. And I think the one thing that we said, like when you go back to maybe like Christmas time, around then, where, Louisville struggled to put away some teams. They lost, a number of games in a row. Like, I think they lost 3 out of 5 or something like that. And Louisville, was struggling to find its identity mid-season. And I think back then, we kind of said, like, Terrence Edwards needs to be that guy. Like, especially now the case in prior is that how, like, Terrence Edwards needs to come out of his shell a little bit more and be the guy that was the conference player of the year last year. And so now we flash forward to, mid-February, and he is, Chuckie is the best player on this team, but Fat is 1B at this point.
Yeah, and I almost wonder if, not that the injuries were ever a good thing, but I almost do wonder if that was a positive for Terrence. It kind of allowed him to be back in that James Madison role, where we don't have, at times, Noah Waterman. We don't have Kason Pryor. We don't have all these guys that need the ball in their hands that are going to shoot shots. It's now more on Terrence Edwards. And I just wonder if that allowed him to find his game better than when we had, 10 guys, when we had Corin Johnson, we had all of them. And he's maybe only playing 30 minutes a night, and he's only getting up 8 shots. Now he's playing 35 minutes a night, and he's getting up 10, 12 shots. So I'm just curious. But all in all, it's great to see him coming into his own, because if we don't have him as either our primary scorer or a secondary scorer tonight, this team is not going to be able to reach its ceiling.
Yeah, absolutely. Profile wise, Louisville now up to 25th on KenPom. Huge. 20th offensively, 33rd defensively. So that's trending in the right direction. Absolutely. 27th in the net. And when you look at the quadrant wins, 5-0 in quad 4, 4-0 in quad 3, 6-1 in quad 2, 4-5 in quad 1. So Louisville now at 10 quad 1 and 2 victories, which is pretty solid. So overall, 12-2 in conference, still pacing right alongside Clemson, 1 game back of Duke. But dude, it's I don't know. I mean, profile wise, what are we looking for now? Like, I think 2 weeks ago we were talking, how high can the seeding get? But now, like, does the storyline become like, 6th seed is what we're trying for? Or is it more, let's try to win the tournament and become a 3 or 4 seed, right? Like, what's the storyline now?
Yeah, I mean, I think the ceiling is 3 seed. If you run the table, not a lot of opportunities for top tier wins in the regular season, but if you're able to run the table in the regular season and then make it into the ACC tournament and you get a quad one victory against SMU, then you get a quad one victory against Clemson, and then you get a quad one victory against Duke. I think that puts you in a position to be able to achieve a 3 seed, at worst a 4, but I can't imagine that wouldn't be a 3 seed, especially if a Duke victory comes. But yeah, I think realistically we're probably shooting for a 5 or a 6 seed. I'd almost rather, I was looking at the 3 seeds. They're the projected 3 seeds that Lenardi had up today.
Yeah.
I don't mind being a 6 seed, playing that 3 seed, and then having to eventually play the 2 seed if we were to make it. The 1 seeds are the ones that are terrifying to me. The Auburns of the world, those teams are like, God, I don't know if anyone can beat them. So would love to, I mean, a 4 or 5 seed would be great, but that ends up lining you up to play a 1 seed in the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like if a 6 seed happens, I'm not upset because I think we can beat those 3 seeds. Obviously, we could lose in the first round against an 11 seed. Yeah, an 11 seed.
Yeah.
But 3 seeds don't scare me, and then the 2 seeds scare me a lot less than the 1 seeds do.
Yeah, I mean, I do like that idea of the 6 to 3 to 2 line versus having to go 5-12, 4. Why am I 5-12, 4-13?
5-12, 5-4.
Yeah.
5-1.
Yes. Thank you. I don't know where I was going with that, but I think you're absolutely right. If you can avoid seeing one of the 1 seeds, especially like a Tennessee, Florida, who am I missing? Alabama,
Auburn,
like
Auburn or Duke.
Auburn. Yeah, I mean
Auburn, Duke, Alabama.
If you can avoid seeing those 1 seeds, yeah, I mean that'd be massive. So interesting the way that plays out, and then of course, what's really going to happen is the 1 seed's going to lose in the round of 32, and the 11 seed's going to end up in the Sweet 16. Like that's really what's going to happen. But what fun would it be to not talk scenarios? So as we're looking ahead, Notre Dame on Sunday. What are our thoughts here in regards to the Irish? Is this the toughest test left on the schedule?
I thought Stanford was the toughest test left on the schedule, but they just got mollywopped yesterday. I can't remember who they played, but it wasn't a great team, and they ended up losing on the road. I can't remember who they played yesterday. Yeah. But so Stanford's kind of trailing off. They seem to definitely, if you play them on the road, you're at a much bigger disadvantage than when they have to come to you, which obviously 10 hours of travel for some teams, most likely, going to and from Stanford.
Right.
So that's a huge difference. So yeah, it's this game or it's a Stanford game, but this one's on the road. So probably say this game. I mean, they've got 2 really talented players. Marcus Burton and Tay Davis are both really high level players, especially Marcus Burton. He's leading the ACC in scoring with 21 points a game. He is a little bitty diminutive guard. I don't really think Chuckie's going to have too much of an issue guarding him. If anybody on this team scares me, it's Tay Davis. Me and Jacob talked about it last time. But those like athletic, long wings are the players that I think Louisville struggles with the most. Like a Jalen Moore against Oklahoma, number 14 for them. Just really bouncy, really strong. Tay Davis is more long and bouncy than he is strong. But those are the kind of players that scare me. And he averages 16 and 6. So if there's anyone that I'm more worried about, it's Tay Davis. But Marcus Burton is a super talented player. I've seen games where literally teams will box in one, and you so rarely see that in college basketball because there's so many talented players. They will just straight face guard Marcus Burton, and Notre Dame's offense looks like they're lost. They're confused. They don't know what to do if Marcus can't have the ball in his hands. So shut him down, and I think this is another easy 15-point victory.
Yeah. I mean, the things that concern me, just outside of the sheer numbers and matchups, Notre Dame, traditionally, Louisville has not played great there. I mean, they have some exciting wins in their history there, but traditionally it doesn't go as well for them. And then it's 8:00 on a Sunday night, right? Like that's weird.
So weird.
Weird vibes with it just being an 8:00 tip in general, with it being on the road at Notre Dame, which is just a different place to play. Like it's more of like a Big East type of like odd environment, right? This Notre Dame team is just good enough to, give you enough fits, right? 89th in Ken Palm, 68th offensively, 140th defensively. They're 318th in adjusted tempo, which means they're going to really try to slow it down and play really solid half-court sets and turn it into that sort of game, when you look across the number of possessions in their last 5 or 6 games, going back to Virginia in January, 58 possessions, 62 against Georgia Tech, 58 against Miami, 70 against Florida State. So that a massive step up against Florida State. 67 against Virginia Tech, and then 81, but in double overtime against Boston College. It's a team where you're not going to get a lot of possessions, and it's by design. They're not going to try to turn you over a bunch, but they, kind of have their style of play. They're very efficient in the half court, and that's kind of what they do.
2 things I was going to add is Notre Dame is a good 3-point shooting team, so that always scares you when you think you're superior in the talent category. One thing that can always even it out is 3-point shooting. I think they've got 5 guys that are shooting above 35% from 3.
It's pretty impressive.
So that is impressive. I think one of those guys is hurt now, so it's 4. But I mean, you've got Marcus Burton shooting 38%, Brendan Shrewsbury is shooting 36%. They've got a guard shooting 48, and then another forward shooting 47. Those are not tons of attempts a game. They're not Rain Smithing it out there, but I mean, there's still guys that are open. They're making nearly 50% of their shots. So that always scares you when it comes to teams with inferior talent. Just if they come out and they can't miss a shot, then it's going to be hard for anyone to beat them on any night. Other thing, they don't have any interior presence. I recently watched that double overtime game where they played Boston College, and like if you get to the rim on them, there's no one stopping you. They average 1.7 blocks a game, which is, I believe, bottom 50 in the nation, probably even worse than that. They don't have a guy averaging more than 0.6 blocks a game, and that's one guy averaging 0.6 blocks a game. That's it. So they do not have an interior presence. I think that bodes well for Louisville. We've got a lot of guys that can get to the basket and get to the rim. So outside of their ability to knock down a bunch of 3-point shots and shoot really efficiently, I'm not super concerned about this game.
Yeah. I mean, I can't help but agree. I do think it'll be a little bit lower scoring, but we are seeing that Louisville is, basically going into the opponent's arena essentially and run up the score against teams that don't allow you to do so. So never say never. I would go I'm going to say 74 to 58 type of game. What do you think?
Yeah, I like that. I think we'll still be able to score a little bit more. I'd say 77, 61, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Right around a 15-point victory. I'm not going to guarantee that we dominate the team the way we did in NC State, because that would just be kind of crazy to come on and assume that to happen every time. I wouldn't be surprised, but I think it'll be a comfortable game where we're not too concerned for much of the second half.
Absolutely. One thing that people are wanting to know about, and one thing that we haven't gotten to address yet, Jake, is that Louisville got a commitment. Kind of felt a little bit out of the blue for a lot of fans. I think it was from a name that many kind of were aware was circulating as being strong with Louisville. A commitment could be coming anytime. And then it kind of popped out of nowhere, right? But Sananda Fru, Sananda Fru, but he goes by Sonny, we're told.
That's way easier to say, so I'm happy that he
Sananda Fru just sounds like a fruit snack or something, just something you really enjoy, Sananda Fru. But it's at least in part due to his disposition. So Sananda Fru, a 22-year-old currently playing in La Bundesliga, right? Is that how we say this?
Yeah, it's Bundesliga, just like you say the soccer league.
Yes, yeah, that makes sense. So Bundesliga in Spain, a competitive Germany. I'm sorry. Wow. Anyways, I'm German.
Elon.
Sananda Fru, German star, playing alongside some really talented players in the highest level of German basketball. One of the higher leagues in Europe, I'm assuming. I don't know if there's a ranking system, but they're up there. And he's considered one of the more talented players in this league. Jake, you've watched a lot of tape, but I mean, this is a guy I'm thrilled about. I can't wait to jump into this a little bit more. What do you think?
Yeah, there's definitely reason to be excited. I think I tweeted that originally. I saw there was his NBA GM profile had him listed at 6'9", 215. A couple people commented and said they saw other heights and weights. I watched a couple of his games. They've got him on YouTube, his Euro League games. I think they've got 3 games on there. I've watched 2 out of 3 so far. He's not 6'9", 215. He's way bigger than that. Yeah. I saw someone say 6'11", 245. That's a lot closer than 6'9", 215. He is a fucking load. Averages 10.5 points a game as a 21-year-old. 4.7 rebounds, 1.5 blocks, and only plays 24 minutes a night. So not a huge amount of minutes either there. I like him. I don't love him. You want to go pros or you want to go cons first with what I've seen from Sonny's game? So pros, I like his hands. He's very soft hands. He is very, very effective in the pick and roll. Like rolls super well, catches passes really well, has a soft touch around the rim. So I like that a lot. He's also really good at rim running in transition. As soon as they catch the ball, straight line speed, he is fine. He can run down. He is very, trying to think, imagine Frankenstein running is kind of the way he runs. He's very heavy footed. Also a really good shot blocker, a good interior presence, something that James Scott is an okay shot blocker, but something that we really don't have on this team. Also pros, think he has a really nice shooting form. He shoots around 70% from the free throw line, shoots under 20% from 3, but he will at least shoot them, which I think if he comes in as a freshman or a sophomore, has 3-4 years to develop. I think it's good that he has that foundation, that he is shooting threes already. He's confident enough to shoot them in a game. It's not a guy like Boubacar or James Scott that borderline won't even shoot a 3. So I think that's good. That's a good foundation to build on. The cons, he is some of the slowest feet I've ever seen. Like really, really slow feet. It's and not a good vertical leaper either. So like when he gets offensive rebounds, it's because he's big. He's put himself in that position. He's cleared out space and he gets that rebound and he goes up. But he is not jumping over anybody. He is not, rarely he can. He's 6'11". He's not banging on dudes. So I think my concerns there is his foot speed is my biggest thing. He's very lumbering when he runs. He doesn't change directions well at all. I've seen him switch a lot for this team, this Braunschweig team. He actually doesn't do a bad job of guarding perimeter players, surprisingly for how slow I think his feet are. So, and that just helps. He's so long and big. It's not terrible there, but the foot speed is the one thing that scares me. And unfortunately, as great of a coach as Pat Kelsey is, you can't make a guy faster. You make him maybe a little bit faster. You can't make him faster. So I like him. I think it's a good pickup. I'm certainly not complaining at all. But there are some concerns to his game that just watching him that have worried me.
Sananda Fru. It's interesting now when you're looking across the construct of this Louisville front court, where, you know, you have a big and Ali Khalifa who kind of is a little bit of a completely different player, don't get me wrong, but kind of a little bit of a slower footed type of big. And then you have James Scott, who is like the prototypical like NBA 4 or 5 man of the future, super long, quick, and athletic. You could be returning Kason Pryor, who is kind of a similar mold. And then Louisville's obviously in strong with Nate Mint, who is another guy who can be a big man, but also kind of more versatile. Then you also have Khani as well. Like, you're really starting to fill up this room, and obviously we don't know the situation quite yet with Kason Pryor, if he's going to return. We don't know if Javon Hadley's going to return. Obviously he's more of a guard, but still a guy that can kind of facilitate as a big man. So it's getting pretty crowded pretty quick, Jake.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you if you thought that this signing by us signing Sananda Fru is telling you, okay, the Nate Mint thing isn't looking likely. We don't think we're getting Kason Pryor back. Like, do you think that it's sending a signal? Obviously, I don't think we're getting Kason and Nate Mint. I just, like you said, the front court is too full at that point. So, I mean, I'd be fine with just one of them. I think we're perfectly fine with just one of them. But I was just curious if you thought that was a sign that we're maybe not getting either, or we're at least not getting one now.
Yeah, I mean, it very well could be. You know, I have a strong feeling that Kason will come back. Like, I think as of right now, the plan is probably for him to come back with maybe thoughts on if something changes, or, I mean, I guess maybe he could have like a last second change of heart or something, get a different kind of evaluation or something. But no, I mean, I don't know. I have just this gut feeling that Kaysen will come back. And with that in mind, then I don't know. I don't know. Everything that you hear, it seems like Native Man is like right there with Louisville. But maybe they see him as a 3. Like and that's where my mind starts going. Like maybe they see this as like a massive lineup where you could play a Kaysen Pryor, Native Manton, and Ali Khalifa. Like that feels like a weird lineup to talk about, though, right? Like I don't know. The combinations are weird. I think somebody would leave. Like maybe Khani Roos, like maybe that's the guy, but he feels locked in. Like there's nobody that feels like they're at least in this front court that feels like it's just definite that they would not be here, or even I don't know, like even a 40% chance that they would not be here.
Yeah. My other thought was just I wonder how this guy fits. I think with this team he would have fit better. Like him with Kaysen at the 4 makes sense to me. Sonny Fru is a 5. Like he is a 5 through and through. He will not play any other position. You will not get that confused. I think he would play really well with a Kaysen Pryor, but say Kaysen's gone and it's Ali Khalifa and it's Sonny and it's James Scott and those are our 3 bigs. Like I don't know if 2 of those guys can be on the court at the same time. Like Sonny and Ali Khalifa would be the slowest front court probably in all of Power 5 basketball.
Yeah,
they'd be talented. They do really good things on offense, but defensively, I think that would be terrifying. And then I don't think there's enough spacing on the floor if it's James and Sonny either, because unless James just gets a 3-point shot that he doesn't have right now, neither of them are spacing the floor. That's not good for Pat Kelsey's system. So like, I'm just curious how, and I can't imagine that all 3 of them would be playing separately on the court in 15 minutes a game kind of thing. So I'm a little curious to see how those 3 end up playing together, because right now it's not clear to me, but I'm sure Pat Kelsey has a vision. I don't want to question that, but that is a concern of mine.
When I watched the tape, I didn't think that Fru's feet were that slow, which again, it feels like a weird sentence to say. But I was only watching the highlights, right? Like I was only watching the most athletic plays that he was making. And I think that that's good analysis, Shake, where you kind of went back and looked at the totality of what he brings to the table. It's a really interesting, topic that I'm sure we'll talk more about is will Kaysen return? Will, I mean, I can't imagine in this lifetime James Scott leaving, right? Like, I mean, I don't know, like, how does Ali fit in the offense? Like, there's so much conversation surrounding this offseason, and I love that it's all really good stuff. I think that's...
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't be complaining about adding this guy, that's for sure. I'm curious about his fit and about his ability to be fast enough, but I mean, you cannot complain about adding a 6'11", 245-pound guy that has... I mean, he entered his name into the NBA draft 2 years ago and was considered at times a late second-round draft pick. So there is clearly potential. He ended up withdrawing, but there is clearly potential that NBA GMs have seen in him for him to even be considered an NBA draft pick, and that was 2-3 years ago at this point. So I definitely am excited to have him on. And do you know, my only other confusion or bit of confusion was, is he going to come in as a freshman? I think he's 21 right now. I think he'll come in as 22. I know Illinois had some European guys that started as sophomores their first year, so I didn't know if you knew anything on what his eligibility would be.
I saw a couple different sources, like open sources, like websites, reporters saying that he'd be coming in as a freshman. So I don't know if that's like something that somebody speculated and somebody else ran with it, though. Like, I don't know for 100% fact if that's the case. And things are so weird now, right? Like this guy is coming from a league where guys just finished playing long college basketball careers, and now they're just entering the league. And he's like, oh, I've been doing this since I was like 17. So it's a weird dynamic for sure. I would say, I think Sonny, my final kind of comment on this would just be that I think Sonny fits really well as an interchangeable piece for James Scott. Not saying that they're 1-to-1, but 2 guys that could be really good if they gave you just 20 absolutely hellacious minutes apiece. Like, I think that's really the takeaway here is if James Scott backs those minutes down a little bit and gives us the complete package for 20 to 22 minutes a game, and same with Sonny, comes in, gives us 15, 20 minutes a game, like that's going to be a very difficult 1-2 punch to have to contend with for an entire game. So that's exciting.
We do not need to be complaining about front court depth, as we've seen with these injuries this year. That is not something that we could ever have too much of at all.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to say also, just to kind of bring his numbers into comparison, we talked about it. He averages about 11 points a game, 5 rebounds, a block and a half a game on just 24 minutes a night. Trey Mitchell, who a lot of listeners probably know, former UK basketball player on that 23-24 team. So just last year before they brought in Pope, who put up 11 points, 5 rebounds, like not a bad player at all for Kentucky. He's on that same team with Sonny, and they're putting up almost identical numbers.
Yeah.
And Trey Mitchell was a solid college basketball player for multiple years while he was there. Played at UMass, then Texas, then West Virginia, then Kentucky. And so if you're thinking like, well, this guy's playing comparably to this 5-year NCAA player that averaged like 15 a game in his NCAA career, that's not a bad thing at all.
I mean, I think that's the best possible way to look at it is you could be getting a guy with potentially 4 years of eligibility that has the experience of like a graduate transfer. So that's really fascinating to me, especially from a team dynamic, Pat Kelsey and staff continuing to age up. And let me tell you as well, before we get out of here, why Spain was on my mind, because right before we jumped on, I texted you, it looks like Louisville is pursuing this guy, Guillermo Del Pino. And so he is a Spanish. So again, this is where the Spain thing came from here. He is a Spanish point guard, kind of a 6'4", a little bit more below the rim type of player, but really fascinating looking point guard. And it looks like Louisville is trying to get one more foreign-born player on next year's team. A very similar type of situation. Again, not like a ton of leaping ability or ridiculous shooting ability to speak about, but a really solid facilitator from, what little I've been able to see. So that's something worth noting. Sounds like Louisville wants to take at least one or two more freshmen and one more overseas person. Guillermo Del Pino, again, being the Spanish point guard that Louisville could be in on. Any initial thoughts on him?
No, you brought it to my attention right before this, so I have not really been able to see much. I'm looking at him right now. He looks like he's built like a pencil. He is 6'4" and skinny. Looks born in 2007, so would that make him 18 years old? Yeah. 18 years old now. Just turned 18, it looks like. Yeah, just turned 18. Averaging 11 points a game as an 18-year-old in a professional league, 2 assists, 2 rebounds. I certainly won't complain about it. Doesn't look like he shoots threes very well. But if there's anyone that can fix that, it's Pat Kelsey. It's interesting. We don't really have much experience with these. I mean, I guess we did Dangadell, Anas Mahmoud, but these more like, those were like project players. Like Gorky was a project player, Anas was a project player, Dangadell was a project player. I don't think we have any experience with guys that played 4 years professionally and then now are coming over. So I guess it's just a different college basketball landscape now.
Just a different day and age, right? And
well, because you can get paid now. Back then, it made no sense. If you're already professional, making $100,000 a year in the Bundesliga, why would you go play 4 years in college for free? That makes no sense. So now it at least makes sense. You can get. I assume he's getting an NIL. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't just come play for free, I imagine. But I don't know.
Yeah. This is the type of players that Pat Kelsey and staff are going after. And it's this type of guy, right, that Sonny's agent essentially said, we want Sananda Fru to come in and be the guy on this team. Like, that's the goal, is that's who we want to be. And Matt McGavick has joined the show.
Matt, what do we think about Sananda Fru?
What's going on?
I wasn't expecting there to still be like the lobby for the shared podcast. But while I'm here,
let's hear about those ankles. What a derailment of the show. I love this. Yeah.
I don't know what I did. I woke up and my foot, it hurts. I'm getting old.
For folks listening in, a man who has sprained his ankles twice in his own bed has now joined the show out of absolutely nowhere. This would be like if you were listening to like 840 WHAS and all of a sudden Ben Davis and Kelly Kay just came rolling into the studio.
Getting back on topic, I'll talk about Fru while I'm here.
Yeah, let's hear about Fru.
Yeah, what really stood out was how good he is around the rim. He's got phenomenal touch first and foremost, but he's also a very good finisher. He can take contact very well. He shoots at a high percentage in and around the rim. Defensively, he switches really well. He can hold his own against guards. He doesn't let them blow by him. And that's just stuff defensively. He has good timing on blocks and getting into passing lanes for steals. And in terms of his offensive game, he sort of fits Pat Kelsey's system. Like he has the ability to shoot it from deep, even though like the farther away he gets from the basket, he's not as efficient. But around the rim, the word that I kept coming up with was ferocious, because he was just attacking the rim consistently, whether he was on the drive, because for a guy who's 6'11", 245, he's a pretty good ball handler, whether that be on the drive in one-on-one situations, or like setting up like that, or if he's like looking to create shots for others. I mean, obviously I wouldn't say he's a fantastic passer, but for like positionally speaking, he is a good passer.
Yeah.
And so like whether that's, trying to kick it out to someone else who's cutting, or he's trying to attack himself, he is relentless and ferocious in his nature when it comes to like just getting to the rim and scoring that way.
Yeah. That's a fantastic analysis, and I think it's pretty much goes hand in hand with Jake's positives for sure. Yeah, well, we're going to hop out of here. Matt, it's been fantastic, bro. That was awesome. He just jumps right in, ankles first, and starts giving basketball analysis. I freaking love this. What a surprise. What a surprise. All right, guys, we're getting out of here. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. Follow Jake at UVL_updates. I'll give Matt a gratuitous follow at Matt_McGavick. Right? Is that what it is? Matt_McGavick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
just make sure.
It.
At Pressmeyer at the State of Louisville. Until next time, let's get out of here and go Cards.